So all of our animations are seen from about this far away. So I definitely was not as detailed as I otherwise might be if they were much more close, but you'll still get the idea of how they work. So straightforward idle animation, semi-straightforward. I wanted to be making sure that the characters themselves, all their idols were unique and their locomotion forward and backward were unique. It was very important to me as somebody who is completely in control of the characters to make sure their personalities were being as clear as possible, so that when you saw that character, it wasn't just a skin; it was a real character. I was pretty much fully in charge of this and had almost no actual guidance as far as what to do. So anything that you see is pretty much what I just decided to do. So then we have a forward run. Melody is like a pop type character, so I felt like having her more of a toad, like dancing sort of thing would feel better. It's a little bit lighter than I wanted necessarily, but for time's sake, it's just kind of what we went with. It helps to make her feel different from the other characters. And then we blend into this. This is actually a animation that is used for a global sake. So all of the characters share animations. I'll show you how that works. And don't worry about the eyes. That's just something that happens. But you can see the blend space. This is also something to share globally. That and backwards. So all of it blends the way it's supposed to. No problems. Nice and smooth. Next, I'll show you another character. So the system that we have in the game allows us to share animations between the main characters, which was critical in both doing things in a timely manner and also making sure that we could keep the animations from ballooning out of control and having a scope oversight kind of situation. So these actually use Bright, the Melody's sister. This is currently on her rig, just so you can see how well that works. The hair is done by simulation, so you can ignore that. And then we just simply change the mesh. Or is it Bright? And then there you go. Bright is a bull in a China trap type character, so I really wanted her to feel different. I wanted her to feel she's ready to go. Like, Melody is a little bit of the reluctant hero, but Bright is the holy shit, this is awesome, I can't wait to kick everybody's ass, this is so good kind of character. So all of her animations are a lot more rambunctious. Her run, which feels a little bit much on the front side, from the top down it works fairly well. And then moving through her animations. Again, there's that shared animation, and then her backward animation. So she feels like she's pulling on it while she's bringing it back. I'll show you one more character. We actually have 5 characters, but I just wanted to show you a couple of them. That way I'll move on to the other enemies. So this is Kai. He's like a b-boy DJ kind of thing. So all of his moves are sort of like thug-ish or just trying to be like super cool. So for his move, for his idol, he's just chilling. And then his locomotions are different than the other characters. I actually gave him this like semi-sideways gait to try to give him like more of a, almost like because he's a breakdancing type character, so he's kind of getting ready to do some stuff. But then that does still blend nicely into a normal run just fine, and that run just fine, and then this backwards run that he has, again, that sideways gait thing there. And I give him a little bit of a lean so that he looks more cool when he's like kind of almost looking down the sights of the gun. And then I'll show you some other stuff. Okay, so the other thing our game has is it has different weapons in it, and so it was very important to me to have different weapon stances. This is something that I pushed for and created a system that you can use all these different weapons and it works cool, so that it's not just simply, oh, you have this cool looking bazooka but you don't actually use it as in a game. Originally we were just going to have guns and we would just call it a bazooka, but that felt incredibly lame to me, so I came up with this other system. And so you have a different idol. You'll notice that they don't actually touch the bazooka. That's because we have multiple different types of bazooka sized weapons, And this felt like a better compromise than having it actually intersect the weapon, because that would be way worse. So at least from here, when you're running around, you can kind of feel like it's touching it, depending on how you're looking at it. Anyway, there's that, and then there's a run cycle with it. The run cycle actually uses fairly similar cycles to the other stuff, and I just changed the upper body. Looks like I accidentally rotated that foot while I was sitting here. Sorry about that. I'll just undo that real quick. There we go. Oh, so let me check out 1 second. All right, there we go. Accidentally rotated a bone. Yeah, so I'm not going to get too in depth with this, but you can see this uses the same type of thing. So it's all good. All right, I'll show you another weapon. All right, now that I've explained the concept fairly briefly, here is a guitar weapon. Same thing with the bazooka. It's not technically holding it, but it was the compromise made to keep different types of shapes and stuff like that, so it still looks like they are holding it from here, and it still feels okay, and you're not really looking at it that hard, you know, it's looking at it from here. But you can see the secret. And then again, very briefly, just to show you how it all works, the upper body is the thing that's different, the lower body is what's changed, and the upper body doesn't actually have as much animation as I otherwise would normally put for a weapon like this, but there's a lot of blending that goes on, and you don't want to overdo it too much in our case, but you can still get the gist of it. One more. Alright, this is the keyboard weapon, just to show you how very different things can be. So this is attached, just it's floating off in space, and I animated it independently so that it looked like it was just kind of hovering around you. And again, well, actually this is the bottom locomotion is all the same, but you can see the upper body is quite different in making sure that it's all going to work with this space. And then as this is becoming quite a long video, I'm just going to quickly browse through some other stuff. Alright, here's some quick dance emotes that I had to make. Just going to run through them all. This one is fully keyframed. A couple of them are keyframed and motion capture and whatnot. Alright. Pull this out. That one's motion capture actually. That's mostly keyframed. It's mostly keyframed. It's a combination of keyframe and motion capture. And alright, now I'll go through some quick enemy stuff. Alright, here's our big fat grunt character. He's like the Teamster bouncer of the game, there to beat you up, and I'll show you how he's going to beat you up right now. So our game is beat driven, so therefore everything has to happen fairly immediately. So his attack actually starts mid-move, as many action games do, and then we'll go into full punch. So punch. There's a butt stomp. And that's all he does. I make sure I made a variation on him. We didn't end up using this, but there's an idle variation on that guy. And I'll show you some other enemies. Here is our shooter character. He actually plays the violin. Disregard the fact that he, according to this, he is actually intersecting this a little bit. That is not the case in the final game. Just a little bit of off in the engine. But he gallops towards you. He's like a little fawn kind of character. Gallops around, and then his shooting attacks are things such as that one. So he'll fire like a barrage of weapons of stuff at you for that one. He also fires that one. This is like a big blast, so when he fires it, it knocks him backwards for a moment. He also has this one, just a really quick sink, shink, quick move kind of thing. And I'll show you this guy real quick. Everybody loves him. The tail is actually animated with physics. His thing is he has a fire anticipate, so he gets ready, and then it can loop. And then he finishes. And that's pretty much it for that guy. It's a pretty basic character. We also have this guy. A lot of these characters are fairly basic. I would make them akin to what Hyperlight Drifter did, where they're just locomotion and 1, maybe 2 attacks at the most. Pretty straightforward. He'll stomp towards you, stomps left, stomps backwards. Very basic stuff. I also want to note that pretty much all these characters that I've been showing you, enemy-wise, were done in about maybe 2 to 3 days animation time, thereabouts. I would have liked to take more time on them, but we just didn't have it. And I won't spend a huge amount of time on the rest of everything else. I just want to quickly show you some other stuff. This is one of our bosses in the game. This is, let's see. She summons these things to come attack you, and so she's kind of commanding them. This character is fairly complicated. I wanted her thing to have pulsing when it's going along, so all of her moves, you know, are pulsing to the beat. Boom, boop, 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 boop. Scream, snap. Those are once one of her idols. Idol. Her idol is this. And lastly, I'll show you our boss. Spoiler alert. Alright, this is Discord. He is our boss, crazy in the game, and he was very quickly done. I only had about a day to do him originally, and then a day to do one pass polish, and then a day to do a final pass polish, and I had to really find the time to do all of those things. So here we go. He actually has a pretty crazy rig because we were very limited in the amount of bones we could have. He has these tentacles, but he's only 90 bones. It's very minor, so they get pretty crazy, and I wish I could show you the Maya rig, but it's pretty wild. Anyway, just some really quick stuff with him. He has this idle stage when you first fight him, and then he has a second idle stage on stage 2 when he's getting really into it, and then he has a third idle stage where he's just like manic and upset with you, and he has a bunch of different attacks, but I don't think they're necessarily going to yeah, there's Death Scream that he does at you. But yeah, a bunch of the different attacks require me to show it kind of in context, which you can't really see. Yeah, screaming, and then come out. His attacks, his tentacles are separate pieces, so they actually animate separately so that he can be idling while this thing is also happening. Fairly complex character. And the last thing I just wanted to mention before we wrap all this up is I had to do a lot of animations in this game. And so if I pop over to back over here, basically let's cruise into this. Basically all these enemies right here, all that, and heroes and the bosses, and generally speaking, like I said, a lot of these were done in about a day and a half, maybe 2 days, 3 days time, excluding revisions. You know, sometimes you do an enemy and it wouldn't work. That would be that. But now that I've showed you how it works, let me attempt to show it to you in the game. See if this loads. Alright, I got it open. I'm going to show you some quick things in context and we'll wrap it up. I had to compile some shaders. Let's try this again. One last thing that I noticed is that, oh yeah, I also had to animate pretty much all of these environment assets. Some of these are duplicates, and that's because we were just checking to make sure they were good, but I'm just going to walk you through this real quick so you can see them, and then we will wrap up.
We got this conversation, and you seem to agree with me, but when there's complications, you withdraw and leave me to be. When there's a problem, you become like a wall, and every time I trip, it's a free fall.